How many of you have heard of the Dunn-Kruger effect? Dunn-Kruger, a few people. Okay, D-U-N-N-Kruger, K-R-U-G-E-R. It's something that psychologists identify where somebody is introduced to a subject and he believes he knows it all. And the more he studies or she studies, the more they realize, hey, I have not even started. So what happens if you look at the graph is, so this is time and level of knowledge. They learn a little bit and their confidence shoots up to what they call Mount Stupid. Yeah, they describe that part of the graph. And then as they learn more, then they start losing confidence. Then they come down and, hey, actually, I don't know anything. And then the graph starts going up again as they learn with more confidence, with more humility. So some are just afraid of that Mount Stupid. I did a 2-day course, and actually people can cause fitna. Yeah, because you can go with this knowledge by the end of tomorrow and just become one perfect instrument of shaitan, of humiliating your local imam. Who doesn't know usul, doesn't know kawai, doesn't know maqasid, like you can rudishi. Yeah, and make people lose confidence in him, etc. So be careful with this. That's why we keep repeating, this is small. The subject of ijtihad, okay, juristic reasoning is a common word used to translate ijtihad. So this subject of ijtihad is the most complex of all the Islamic sciences. When you hear ulum al-Quran, ilm al-kalam, ulum al-hadith, the study of aqidah, all sorts of subjects in the Islamic sciences. The subjects that study ijtihad to make somebody a mujtahid is the most complicated. So you can easily get, this guy is a muhaddith, and this guy is a muhaddith, and this guy is a muhaddith. But when you say, where's a mujtahid? Kai? Then you find everybody like, wow, that one is not easy. But that's what we are trying to study here. So I'm just letting you know it's not like if you get it easily, you've not got it. Let's put it that way. We'll try to simplify, we'll use metaphors. It's not equal to nothing, but it's important for us to have a heavy dose of humility here. The Prophet described that the ulama are the warathatul anbiya. They are those who inherit the prophets. No more prophets, but as during the time of the Prophet, people will come and ask him questions. What do we do in this situation? They will be coming to ulama to say, what do we do in this situation about cryptocurrency? What do we do about stem cell research? What do we do about some new thing? Sex realignment surgery. What do we do about whatever the thing is? And what the mujtahid, the expert in ijtihad, is simply trying to answer is, what would the Prophet have said if he was here with us? That's not easy. Yeah, you really need to know the Quran and the Sunnah. You need to know a lot of subjects to represent the Prophet in his absence. Yeah. So whereas a muhaddith will be, hadith is strong or weak and which level it is, Mufassir will tell you this verse means kaza kaza. But your question on organ transplant, is it okay to take an organ of one person to put it in another? Heart, is it okay? What about reproductive organs? Is that also okay? If we come to the stage where we can remove a head and put it on another body, will that be okay? They've done it for monkeys. Yeah, they survived for a while. The scholars who are going to say yes, if, no, though, whatever answer, those are mujtahids. Yeah, that's a very, very serious qualification. That's the person who, he hears the question, asks a few more, and he is giving you the answer. So somebody asked a question about, you go to court. In the court system, they have a pyramid hierarchy. If you are not satisfied with this, you go to a more senior court, which means you go from a less qualified judge to a more qualified judge, to the most qualified judge. After that, you better accept. Why? Because then the problem is not the justice, it's you. It's assumed. It doesn't mean they are perfect, yeah, but they are most likely right, you are most likely wrong. The mujtahids are those apex individuals. They are the ones responsible for ensuring that Islam has answers to the times it lives in. As situation changes, fatwas will change. But who are those who have studied the methodology of ijtihad? They are the mujtahids. But that's a subject we are dabbling into. It's a brief introduction to some of the most important tools of ijtihad used by various schools and their jurists. So we're not just looking at Maliki. We'll look at, because we're in a very global environment. We're in a very madhab pluralistic environment, whether we like it or not. Social media, scholars from other parts of the world come, they answer questions to the best of their knowledge. Where are they coming from? Where are our own coming from? So we need to understand those equations. It's a small exposure to a big field. You know when you smell a dish, you say it's nice even though you've not tasted it? Yeah, so hopefully this is like a sniff. Don't say you know the taste, it's just a sniff. Or you tasted, let me taste your ice cream. I have a rough idea of what it is like, but maybe there was a bit of caramel in the one I took. Or a sip of your tea. Maybe the sugar has not been stirred properly, but I've got a rough idea of it. So it's that small amount we're looking at. We will use a lot of diagrams, metaphors, and analogies from various fields and professions. And this is to simplify and clarify. It's not saying that the reality is as simple as the metaphor. Okay? So when you get the metaphor, okay, you've got a rough idea. Yeah, but don't, fully understood the metaphor, so I fully understood the subject. No, the subject is more complicated. The metaphor is just to be a step between I don't know and is very complicated. So one step towards that. And so we explained that in the WhatsApp group and the message we sent. So it's not to belittle the complexity or the real depth. One of the things you learn from the one-eyed is, how many of you missed it with one eye? Yeah, almost everybody. Yeah. So with no eye, with both eyes closed, understood why you will miss it. Okay? With one eye, you can see this, but one eye is not good with depth. Are we together? Yeah. So those that want to be very good with distance usually need two eyes. That's why animals that are predators have their eyes in front. Those that are herbivores have their eyes beside. They are busy trying to look. The moment I see a lion, I know what to do. I don't need to, how far is the lion? Yeah. But those that want to know, am I fast, am I close enough to jump? You see all their eyes are in front. Whether it's eagles, owls, the predatory animals need that. But one good thing of having one eye is I can know whether you have one eye or two eyes. Yeah. I have only one eye, but I know who to listen to. And I know who is like me. Yeah. So even though this course doesn't make you two-eyed, hopefully we move from being blind to one-eyed. One-eyed is not useless. Because the problem is many of us are blind to this subject and we actually don't know the difference. Who is one-eyed, who is two-eyed, who is blind. We've talked about the coating. We'll keep talking about the coating. Sorry if you get sick of it. The brief introduction to a big area. You can look at it as being similar to driving through the main roads of a big city like Abuja. Which are the main roads? Namdi Azikiwe? Muhammad Bello? Yeah. So just pick one big road and go through. If anybody said, did you go to Abuja, what would you say? Yes or no? Yes. Yes. Do you know Abuja? Yeah. Yeah, so it's enough to know a little. I know some of the kind of buildings in Abuja. I have a rough idea about the size. You may know where you are. You may know how to get out of Abuja. Or you know where you are not, go. But not enough to be a taxi driver. Hey. So, as we've said, this course is meant to help you become a first aider or paramedic. You know, that emergency situation. But even when we give you whatever, if you have the opportunity, please ask somebody who you know knows better. But hopefully you also have the skills to know who is the two-eyed. Yes. You may at the end of this course realize that there's somebody you have been asking for your fatwas and they are one-eyed. Yeah. That I didn't know about these specializations. Everybody calls you sheikh. Everybody calls you malam. But as I begin to look at all your books and all your whatever, I realize this one is just muhaddith. Yeah. Hadith, they are fine. Fiqh, fatwa, crafting. This person doesn't know how to even start. Yeah. He can repeat others, can back existing opinions. So it's like a cobbler who knows how to repair old shoes. But when you bring a new foot, can't make a new one for a new foot. It is important for you to consult fellow professionals. Yeah, it's good to consult. And you find it mainly in many professions. Doctors, there's a surgery supposed to be done. They would want to discuss with each other. Do you think that's the best thing to do before we move ahead? Okay, they would want to consult. So please, on every issue, not just consult, but learn to be fine with being wrong. Okay? Learn to be fine with I'm not perfect. I know it's easier to say. We all agree we like to learn. One problem is many of us don't like to be taught. We all believe, oh, nobody is above mistake, but it's not you that's going to correct me. You know, like, yeah, anybody can, no problem, we are all learning, etc., but it's not a woman who is going to teach me about my deen. It's not one young person who is going to teach me about my deen. You who just became Muslim yesterday, what are you, whatever. So unfortunately, we have all sorts of barriers, male, female, even wealth sometimes. Just because somebody is wealthier, the tendency is you think he must know more. Yeah. Or because he has got a title, it means he knows more. So all sorts of barriers to consultation. The need for first aiders to know how to connect with relevant doctors and specialists. So this is very, very important. And we hope by the time you are leaving here, you know when you have two-eyed, an expert in something, and you know that on Islamic finance, it's a specialized area. It's not anybody. Yeah. And when somebody with Islamic financial specialization says, this is not acceptable for this reason, you know what questions to ask to know whether he is just copy-pasting for you or whether he also knows the reasoning behind what he is saying. How to spot a fake note. Yes. That's partly also what this course is here for. I don't need to be a driver to know I have an incompetent driver. The moment you've crossed 3 traffic lights, this you are driving. And then he said to me, do you know how to drive? No. Then keep quiet. Will you keep quiet? You end up in hospital. Yeah. So just be, sorry? If you are not dead before then. Yeah. So I don't need to be a driver to know an incompetent driver. Yeah. There are some basic hacks that are enough to know, not this one. Yes. You're a doctor. Yeah. Well, I have water. Hey, just sit down. Okay, I'm waiting for you. This is the medicine you take. No blood pressure. No temperature. You just asked me, well, what happened? stomach trouble, I didn't sleep well last night. No stool test. You didn't ask me when did it start. Like, no. That's where I'll go for a second opinion. I don't need to be a doctor to know when somebody is completely incompetent. And this one is usually quite easy, Ko. I don't need to know how to cook before I know you don't know how to cook. Yeah. Eat the food, it's very nice. Hey, Alan, this meat is spoiled too. But the cook is an expert. I don't care. This one is not good. Yeah. Go ahead, you will get stomach trouble. Too much salt. And I can see when you are bad at parenting. Yeah. I don't need to go on courses and be an expert. So, number of areas. Here what we want is discussing how to identify the competences of a mufti. And who is definitely not one. Go beyond tolerance and patience of scholars to intellectual humility, respect, and appreciation. Yeah. Because sometimes, I believe this is wrong. Or I believe this is right, and somebody says it's wrong. So, don't be quick to jump to conclusions. Yeah. You know the questions to ask to find out maybe you are wrong. And as we go through differing opinions, you will be challenged. This course can be emotionally taxing if you are the kind of person who likes to hold on to your opinion and squeeze, and you are not ready to, let go and let me see another one. Yeah. And sometimes it's when you get used to differences, because it's ijtihad, it's juristic reasoning, and different jurists reasoning differently. You can, they agree to disagree agreeably. No fighting over it. I'm still more comfortable with my opinion. No problem. So the need to go beyond just the ethics and the adab of ikhtilaf to the ethics of engagement and brotherhood. Yes, I disagree with you regarding a particular issue. No problem. You're not just a human being. You're also a Muslim. You're also somebody who cares. Yeah, there's a lot we can do together. I have a dog at home, 2 dogs. Good security. From the time we had those dogs, no more wahala on our compound. They seem not to care too much about hijab and dressing. They are dogs. They eat differently. I don't even understand their aqidah. How do they do their ibadah? I don't know. But we collaborate very well. Yes, so. But then you get a human being who dresses well. Everything. No, we are always fighting with somebody. To move from anger and frustration over differences, where I am not happy with your opinion. In fact, I'll cut your sign because I don't want people to know you have that opinion. All sorts of strategies people use to shut people up. How do we move from that to proactive curiosity? Now, guys, wait. Let's hear him. Yeah. Where is he coming from? Why? As much as I believe I have all the arguments for my whatever, I'm still human, Ko. And new knowledge is knowledge that made me arrive at my existing opinion. So long as new knowledge can change your conclusion, and you agree you are not all-knowing, then what's your problem with new knowledge? What's the problem with hearing another perspective? If your current perspective is a product of what you know, and if you know more, you will probably change your conclusion. Why are you afraid to know more? What are you attached to? Your past self, or what is most pleasing to Allah? If it's what's pleasing to Allah, then it's truth. What is truth? What corresponds with reality? Why are you trying to challenge new knowledge as if you are afraid it will prove you are wrong? Isn't it good if you are wrong to know you are wrong as soon as possible? Is it when you are about to die you want to learn how to parent? I shouldn't have. Very stupid me. Like what? Now? So the need to go for more proactive curiosity, to be comfortable with healthy doubt. I don't know, so what? Who knows all? Nobody. I'm not sure about. Be at home with it. There are some things I think I know for sure, and no problem. Some other areas we will continue to learn from cradle to the grave and beyond the grave. You know, it's hatta zultumul maqabir. And Allah is saying, Kalla so fatal, like in the grave, you are still going to be learning more things. You know, like, it just doesn't finish. So, to also have some level of comfort with uncertainty. Are you 100% sure? 100%? No. So what? Doesn't stop me from taking action. So just because something is not truth beyond reason, beyond shadow of doubt, doesn't mean we won't act on it. Yeah. There are many things I'm not 100% certain about. But it's good to remember the statement of Imam Shafi'i, I believe I am right, with the possibility that I'm wrong. And I believe you are wrong, with the possibility you are right. Like, just keep that window of possibility open, that whatever level of certainty you have, it is healthy to believe there is another perspective I'm not aware of that may actually bring me closer to the truth. If submission to Allah is your priority. If, however, you are stuck to your past self, that's a very fixed mindset, then lakum dinakum waliya din. You have your way, some people have. And some people are already tied to their position. They are bent on denying the truth. They were born Muslim, but they are bent on denying the truth. And so Allah tells us, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, and it uses kafaru in the past tense. Those who are bent on denying the truth, سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ, it is the same. أَأَنذَرْتُهُمْ أَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ. Whether you give them more information, you don't, they're not changing positions. Yeah. So just to be careful about that type of attitude towards new information. And then when we say Allahu Alam, it's not just a thing we say to pretend we are humble, but you actually believe Allah is the one who knows best. So, I'm not Wallahu Alam. You who doesn't want to listen. Wallahu Alam. You know, just to shut everybody up. Nobody is perfect, blah, blah, blah. But you are not even accommodating any crack in your certainty. We're interested to meet each other beyond the field of right and wrong. Am I right? Are you wrong? That's not the issue. We could both be wrong. But to move towards valuing alternative perspectives. You know what? Yeah, the fact that I disagree with you should make me more curious, just in case I'm the mumu. Are we together? So if I look at an argument I am having with my brother Rafi, and we are going to have a 10-minute argument with him. So this is minute 0. We started arguing on football, on fiqh, on whatever it is we were arguing about. I told him the correct answer is A. He says, no, it's B. That's our topic. Okay? I say it's A. He says B. Minute number 1. Minute number 2, we continue arguing. Minute number 3, we are still arguing. In fact, the argument is getting hot and hotter. Minute number 8, minute number 9, minute number 10, he said something that made me realize I was wrong and he was right. That's when I said, oh. How many times has it happened to you? Plenty, go? Okay. This one. Welcome to my world. Okay. Now, how does it feel like to be wrong? Humbling? Nice? No, tell the truth now. Offended? Embarrassed? All right. You feel ignorant? The mumu around? Everybody knows except you. After you are finished telling him, "Can you listen to me?" I say, "Listen to me." All right, he listen to you. And at the end of the day, oh Allah, even I was rude to him and I was even saying whatever. Yes, so. But it is at minute number 10 when I realized I was wrong, that I started to feel bad about being wrong. At minute number 8, was I right or wrong? I was still wrong. But how did I feel? Right. Minute number 4, who was right and wrong? I was still wrong. I just didn't realize it. What's the problem now? What it means is, I was wrong from minute number 1, but being wrong felt the same as being right. And it's only when I got to realize I was wrong, then I started feeling embarrassed. Being wrong has no bad feeling. Being a jahil doesn't make you feel bad. Minute number 8, arguing. Yeah, wait, listen now, listen. Ah, you mad, whatever. These people from Lagos. Everything comes. Why? I'm wrong, but it feels right. You can't be going with your feelings, though. They are very useless, unfortunately. They misguide you. Especially if you are good at arguing. God help you. Unless you are proactively curious to find out if you are wrong, if you are the kind who is good at arguing, you can be the slowest learner. Yeah. And an argument that would have taken 10 minutes, by the time I said these Yoruba people, whatever, he just decided to shut down. I'm wrong, and I will continue for the next till I have somebody courageous enough to listen to my insults. The problem is, because he kept quiet, whatever. Another Yoruba guy, and you, don't worry, I've dealt with your type before. So unfortunately, when you bring anger, when you bring insult, when you bring this lack of adab into disagreement, the tendency is for some civil person to say, you know what, and just let him be. They'll keep quiet. You carry on with your jahiliyyah into the future, mess up relationships, do all the wrong, sometimes till the hereafter, because you realize you are the mumu all along. What is worse? You're in da'wah and you're actually propagating it. Yes. You're a leader and you carry on doing, and you're a bad listener. And you really believe, I'm right, and there's no possibility that I'm wrong. That's why you're not even waiting to hear, or you feel too insecure with your belief. So to move beyond I'm right and wrong, to try and understand alternative perspectives. And how can we still collaborate as human beings on common ground? Even if I believe you are right, or even if I believe you are wrong. I don't agree with my dog on everything, but we still found areas of collaboration. He makes sure no thieves, I make sure he gets good food, well treated, and he's happy. He's first to welcome me as soon as I get home. In fact, he lets the family know I've arrived. So no move from either you are right and I'm wrong, or I am right and you are wrong, to maybe I'm right from one perspective, and so are you from another perspective. Maybe that fatwa was developed by some scholars because of their experience in their own context. There's nothing wrong with it. And scholars differ. The way doctors differ. What's the medicine for malaria? And you know a doctor is not answering my question. Okay? The doctor has not spoken. The pharmacist has not spoken. Is that what you will give your little daughter? Is that what you will give your pregnant wife? No. The doctor will wait first. Which medicine for malaria? Because I want to go and give it to somebody. No, it's not like that. Yeah. Contexts change, fatwas change. There's another problem. Can you detect it? Yes, so you have to know what to look for. What kind of feet? What kind of face? We have wolves in sheep's clothing. But not just that. The need to go beyond the titles of people. And one common title we have is just Sheikh. Sheikh, once you say Sheikh, any question? Go and ask. We forget about specializations. Be careful about the regalia. What kind of clothing? This one doesn't wear al-kebba. What can he know? This one is wearing jeans and t-shirt. What does he know about Islam? As if that is the measure of knowledge. He doesn't have a hat, let alone a turban. He doesn't have titles. Look at his beard. And he says he's specialist in Islamic finance. No beard. Jahili like that. Yeah? She's not wearing hijab. Her hijab is not as good. She doesn't have niqab. What can she know? And the rest. He doesn't have a lot of followers. Do you know actually, most mujtahids have very few followers? Yes. Because they are usually the ones that differ with all the others. If a new fatwa is going to come into Nigeria, it's going to come from somebody who studied and said, you know what, yeah, we need to change the nisab basis for zakat. We need to go from gold to silver. But that's contrary to Maliki. Everybody, where are you coming from? Buy a ahdari, buy a mortar. Like, the mujtahid is always the one who is prescribing the new medicine for the new illness. But the problem is, people and their obstacles. Wait, this other one worked before, why are you telling me to change? Yeah, but because the disease has mutated. Yes. The virus has changed. This is the new medicine. And he's the expert. But he's the one that falls out with everybody else who looks at it as, after I've told my followers kaza kaza, now you want me to go and tell them what? No. There's pride to protect. Yeah. And that's why it's good to identify mujtahids as soon as possible. They are usually the most courageous. They make more mistakes than anybody else. But that's what innovators are. The next person, how many mistakes did Thomas Edison make before he produced the light bulb? They said over 1,000 mistakes. Yeah. And when some journalist asked him, he said, no, I just found 1,000 ways that don't work. Don't worry. Look at us today. Why? Because of somebody ready to produce. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said the mujtahid actually gets a reward for trying, even though he was wrong. You know? If nobody was doing trials on medication, how many trials go wrong? Majority. Finally, something works. Then everybody is now cured because of. So unfortunately, even in the area of Islamic jurisprudence, new things come up. But the problem with many mujtahids, and I've met some of them in Nigeria, they don't want to spoil their name. So they just keep quiet. You ask me a question, probably he tells you what everybody says. Why? They will say, I don't know my job. They will say, kaza kaza. Sheikh Sharif Saleh is one of them. Yes, so ask anybody who has studied Usul al-Fiqh in Nigeria, where did you learn it from? They learned it from his students, or they learned it from him. I'm not saying that's all, but some of the top ones. Sheikh Sharif Saleh is the chairman of the Fatwa Council of the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs. Abuja. Yeah, but you don't hear him. Yeah, quiet. You want to learn? You go and learn. It is good to know how to distinguish a wolf that is dressing like sheep. Okay? When something is wrong, but it looks good. But it's also important to recognize the sheep that has been dressed in wolf's clothing. Yeah. Some of us, the moment you say it is Western, it is haram. It's when you dig deeper, well, what is wrong with it? Nothing. It was a sheep. But it came as if it was coming from the West with all our historical baggage of cynicism to the West. Or it's one local whatever. There's one local cultural thing they do. Local cultural, or whatever. Yeah. But Sharia says, al-ada muhakkama. Sharia gives a stamp of approval to local custom by default. You have to prove there's something wrong. Just because it's local doesn't mean it's wrong. Okay? Knowledge is not right and wrong because of geography. Where did it come from? Allah sent prophets to all of humanity. Definition. Any questions on what we've done so far? We are trying to move quickly. So if there are, please just put them down. Yes. Okay, we'll take two. Yes, please.
Let's go back to your dog example. You have a dog. There's certain criteria to having a dog. It seems on the face of it, you lose out on certain. Okay? But we hear like Rama versus who are in the Kariaki. But you see, security is an issue. If you're not alive, which Malaika Rahma will visit you? So again, I don't want to get ahead of the course, but can you talk a little bit, for those of us that don't have time to be consulting Malamay and are on the field every day, can you talk a little of how quickly you went to the decision that the maslaha is to have a dog in your house? Thank you.
So this question is applied, and I would like us to answer it together when the time comes, because the first question we would, so just for the sake of step by step, we will, so dogs at home. The dogs I'm keeping don't enter the house. The hadith is, Malaikun Rahma will not enter a house that has dogs or statues. Will not come to a house where there's a dog. Ashabul Kahf had a dog. Okay? So what I will say is, inshallah, when we come to it, you ask the question, we'll take that as the first thing, a very specific question. Is it true that? Because then we will go and say, no, the hadith has been misquoted. Okay? And then we will go to what is the istishab of keeping dogs? Or is it the purity of the dogs that's the issue, etc. So we'll come. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, application questions. Yeah. Good. Somebody else had a question. Yes.
This issue, zakat and gold and silver, it is affecting the issue of dowry and giving out zakat. And looking at our situation now, for one to reach the nisab based on the goal. So what can we do, or what have the scholars doing to help to enlighten our society in that regard, sir?
Application again. So let's just write it down about the nisab for arriving at a nisab for zakat.
I understand from the start of your lecture, you've been consistent on saying caution, caution, caution. Is this subject all about caution?
All about no. There's an area of courage. Let's take why we call it first aid. You come to an accident site. You know that the best person who should have been at that accident site is a doctor. But there's no doctor. It's you. So what do? You can say, Gaskiya, I know I did one course in first aid. Look at this. I'm not a doctor. But where is the doctor? And you know, carry this person who is bleeding to the whatever, they will die. So what will you do? Nothing? For the sake of let me not make mistake, you won't do anything? You will do your own ijtihad with your first aid knowledge, with the full knowledge that as I'm trying to solve, the moment somebody says, I'm a doctor, alhamdulillah, bismillah. Yes, so. But there has to be that pragmatism and courage. Otherwise, you will be considered responsible for seeing something wrong. You didn't do mastata'atu. The best you could is what Allah says you should do. But nobody is the best. We're all growing in knowledge. Yeah. So don't let because I couldn't do everything means I will not do anything. In other words, if you can't do all, you don't drop all. Yeah, so you do the best you can. So yes, but with humility, with caution, with curiosity, but with responsibility. Responsibility does not disappear.
The same applies to you as well. Constantly just criticize Islamic manners.
Absolutely.
And they don't have any option. They don't have any alternative. They
So-
want us to go back to the river.
Yeah, so again, no, you're right. You will find it everywhere. And this is why it's important to know who are you asking. To know what you know, also what you don't know. Yeah. But part of the reason why we are teaching, and we continue to teach this course, is to produce more first aiders. Remember what we said before. Over 90% of accidents don't need a doctor. It's solved on first aid. Mufti Menk, Umar Suleiman, Yasser Qadi, top people will come to Nigeria. Do Allah wait until Q&A session. Listen to the question. Do Allah, somebody coming from overseas, you're asking music halal go haram. Somebody like Akarasa, this is first aid. Like you would need the sieving. Why? Think of the cost of his tickets. Think of his accommodation. Think of time. And then we only have 30 minutes, 1 hour, and then you're asking in questions that belong to first aid. Would you allow a surgeon, top surgeon from the UK or from wherever, to come here and you want him to be handling my ingrowing toenail or my fingernail? One mosquito bit me. I'm not sure whether I have malaria, Haberman. Yeah. So our hope is that we are able to do more filtering and make maximum use of these. Jazakumullahu khairan.
I'll see if I can use 3 things to give time for one more round before.
A bit of clarification. Yes.
It says Sheikh Salih Sulaiman.
Sharif Saleh. He's the chairman. He's the chairman of the Fatwa Council of the Nigerian Supreme Council.
Okay. All right. Also, the said is one of those who was shut up not because he will say he doesn't know his job, but he's somebody that he used to take questions that doesn't. I mean, he doesn't.
I'm not saying doing that.
No visibility.
Yeah, I mean, how many of us know him?
That's why he's
Yeah. Sheikh Mahari is one of his top students. And there are a number of us. I'm not, think of, we're all human beings. There's a level of headache I don't want. So when I start discussing with my brother and he keeps arguing, so, Allah Shariah Damu, may Allah guide us, whatever, I'm going to continue. I have a life to live, man. Yeah. So the thing with many of these scholars, once you don't even understand usul, you don't understand equations. How do you teach maths if somebody hasn't even understood the basics of plus and minus, but he's asking a question that requires square root? And he wants to argue. Okay? So for many of them, after a while, Allahu Alam, whatever, they're not going to carry on. You'll not reach minute number 10 with them. Yeah. You decided to stop at 5 because it was getting too hot. No problem. You don't go with your cup full of coffee. I go and ask you, pour something in my own. And you poured. And I tasted. Or I know what you are pouring. No, it's mixed with your own. If you don't have the humility to go with an empty cup, okay, I will mix what I'm reinterpreting. I'm not trying to get out of my shoes. Get into your shoes. Get what's going on. Then come out. And I say, I've entered your shoe. This is what it feels like. Oh, yes. This is the problem I have with that position. Okay, now we are talking. Yeah. But there's an adab that many don't have. And so when you meet some of these scholars, they leave you with your mumunis. Sorry. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So Allah, put it in writing. Hey, just hold on to, we will have more questions. My apologies.